Hello, my name is Lainey Rhodes, and this is my audience Brenda Rhodes, Mara Rhodes, and Chuck Rhodes. And today I am going to be giving my persuasive speech on terrorism. So, the topic that I plan to discuss is terrorism in our country and how it has become progressively worse over time. My general goal is to persuade my audience that terrorism is worse than it is worse now than it has ever been. The specific goal, I want to persuade my audience that terrorism is a bigger threat to our country now than it has ever been, and that we can limit this threat by improving infrastructural security and limiting the purchase of weapons of mass destruction. According to the Washington Post, there were 162 mass shootings in 2018. This means that there were 162 incidents in which 2 or more people were shot and killed throughout the United States. Mass shootings or bombings can happen anywhere. They have occurred at churches, schools, malls, concerts, movie theaters, gyms, and so many more places we all go to every day. With no action taken, we may never be safe. My family members ran in the Boston Marathon in 2013. They were lucky enough to have already crossed the finish line when the bomb went off, but I could have lost my family members that day. Terrorism is an all too real threat to our country, and the amount of lives taken every year by terrorism has not dwindled. Terrorism is a social problem that can be significantly lessened by improving infrastructural security and limiting the purchase of weapons of mass destruction. I will validate this problem by discussing why terrorism has gotten worse over the years, how we can improve infrastructural security within our country, and how we can limit the purchase of weapons of mass destruction on the open market. Let's take a look at this social problem. Terrorism has become much more apparent in our society as the years have gone by. According to Bruce Newsom, the Global Terrorism Database shows that the risk of terrorism has increased dramatically over the long term, most acutely in the last couple decades, as religious terrorism has become predominant globally, and most harmful even in countries such as the U.S., where religious terrorism is not predominant in frequency. According to the same source, in 2005, attacks began to rise dramatically, increasing over the next decade by more than 15 times in frequency and more than 9 times in lethality, with around 40,000 total deaths from terrorism in 2015. Older terrorists use their action as symbols. The new generation of terrorists seems to be competing with one another to see who can cause more destruction and catastrophe. The only way to stop them is to catch them and to limit the resources they can use. Let's look at ways to stop the progression of terrorism. In order to slow the progression of terrorism, we must improve infrastructural security within our community, or our country. According to Homeland Security, there are many different plans in motion to improve infrastructural security throughout the United States. Unfortunately, due to a lack of funding, the website fell under and the plans have been halted until the funding is raised once more. If the people of the United States invested in improving infrastructural security, we could not only protect ourselves from terrorism and other man-made disasters, but also from natural disasters as well. It is detrimental to our society that we work towards improving our structures so that we can better protect our people now and the kids who will grow up in this society. Let's take a look at another way to slow the progression of terrorism. Another way to halt the progression of terrorism is to limit the purchase of weapons of mass destruction on the open market. According to Aaron Smith, it is extremely easy to purchase a gun in America. The purchaser must go through a series of questions and a background check. During the process, denials for purchases happen less than 1% of the time, and purchasers can skip the background check if they want to purchase a gun at a gun show. There is no way to stop the purchasing of guns and other weapons completely. There will always be a way to get one. However, making it harder to purchase one on the open market in stores such as Walmart could seriously lower the number of terrorist attacks that happen yearly. According to Lisa Ryan, 6 ways to promote gun control to at least make purchasing guns a bit harder are to donate to gun control organizations, participate in demonstrations, reach out to elected officials, pressure politicians to stop accepting donations from the NRA, volunteer with groups leading the fight, and voice your support on social media. And this brings me to my conclusion. Terrorism is a huge social problem today. We can see this through the progression of terrorist attacks over the past decade. We cannot completely stop terrorism, but there are actions each of us can take to make this world a safer one for us and the generations that will follow. We can donate to the Homeland Security to fund their attempts to improve the infrastructural security within our nation, and we can push our representatives to take action to limit the purchases of weapons on the open market. We should never have to watch our loved ones suffer at the hands of a terrorist. I encourage each and every one of you to stand up and help to put a stop to the purchases of destructive weapons so that we and the generations after us can live in a safer and healthier society. And terrorism has definitely become a problem when it has even become apparent in books that are sold in Walmart. So we should do everything we can to limit terrorism in our society. Thank you.